Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Are my slides visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this will be in two sessions. The first session is on what constitutes Indian knowledge system, and the second session will be on multilingualism. First session is for about an hour and 15-20 minutes. We will have about 5 to 10 minutes of discussion. Then there will be a very short break, followed by another session on multilingualism. At the end of it, we will have another short discussion and interaction session. Okay. You will also have a test on this topic, at least the test for the first 4 days, which includes these two topics. Tomorrow evening, it will be an objective multiple choice type of evaluation. So kindly, you don't have to copy the slides. Slides will be given to you at the end of the course, but whatever important observation points you need to register, because these will be eventually part of the questions that you'll have to answer. Okay. So feel free to interact at the end of the session, because if you have any doubts, we can clarify. Okay, so in two parts, the first part is introduction and overview, some discussion and clarification, followed by the topic of multilingualism. Again, some discussion and clarification. So we'll look at Indian knowledge system. We will first understand what knowledge systems are, various knowledge systems, values and impact of knowledge system, specifically Indian knowledge system, the growth, suppression, and the destruction of the Indian knowledge system. The question to answer is, how did Indian knowledge system still survive? Because we are using quite a lot of it even now. And what is the current status of Indian knowledge system? What could be the future of Indian knowledge system, and some action points, okay? So what do we mean by a knowledge system? It's an organized structure and a dynamic process. So it's an organized structure and it's dynamic, which means it has many inputs and it provides responses as outputs. This organized structure and dynamic process is involved in generating and representing content, basically knowledge and other components of existence, life, rules, etc. Content, components, different classes or types of knowledge, which is either domain specific or characterized by domain relevant features as defined by the user or the consumer. Okay, so we are the users of this knowledge system. There are others who are also users of this knowledge system. Some may become consumers of this knowledge system, in which case there is an interaction from the user to consumer. And during the interaction, the knowledge system most of the time enhances, in the sense, only when you talk to others, you understand yourself and others better. So this kind of interaction cumulatively builds the knowledge base. It is reinforced by a set of logical relationships that connect the content or various components or attributes of this knowledge system. So there is a connection between different entities or different components. For example, the legal component in the knowledge system is connected with the financial component. So if there is something wrong in the financial component, the legal system takes over and imposes a penalty or a case, whatever. So these various knowledge systems are interactive, they are interconnected, but they are reasonably cohesive. They are not as segmented far away as we believe it is. For example, our dress is more or less defined by the climatic conditions. Why is it that we don't use heavy fur coat and snow shoes, all that, except maybe in pockets in Himachal and Kashmir in winter, majority of we are not even seen. The reason is that our the weather conditions have imposed a certain sense of comfort in our dress code, and that dress code is what we have been using, not now, for the last 3,000 to 4,000 years. Okay, yeah. Things to observe in any knowledge system, not necessarily just Indian knowledge system, because it is organized and dynamic. It is more closed. So an organized entity cannot be too much open. So it's fairly closed. That's the reason why it's well organized. So it is more closed than open. It is still open in the sense it still is able to receive and make changes. And that's the reason it is dynamic. So it is a very nice balance point between how much well organized and closed it is and how much open and dynamic it is. Because it is dynamic, changes are possible. If it is not dynamic, if it is static, changes will not happen. Changes are possible, yet the changes are slow, sometimes very slow, and sometimes it is so slow that it suddenly explodes. We call this reforms. So when you say some reforms have happened, reforms happen, changes happen continuously. When a lot of changes are needed and then there is no response by the system to accommodate them, some kind of explosion happens. And these explosions are what are called reforms. Okay, and the reforms, a good knowledge system allows reforms to happen. Okay, it will not allow changes suddenly, because continuously changing will even dismantle or even change the entire characteristic of a knowledge system, which is consolidated by experience of the whole nation or the region. Okay, many independent knowledge systems exist and have been more competing than cooperating with each other, meaning there is more rigidity, more closed behavior than open behavior. So each knowledge system. Please mute. I don't want background conversation. Okay. Knowledge systems are evolved entities and are characterized by the people, by the behavior of people who use or dependent on this. Of course, you have a lot of people living in this environment or any environment for that matter. They have inherited a lifestyle, a food habit, a dress code, a language, laws of governance, etc., all that. So you have wide range of people who practice or are dependent on this. There are fundamentalists who will never allow any change. There are practitioners who use it in and out. There are observers who are observing what is happening. There are skeptics who may not fully trust or fully own up or fully agree with it. And there are some blind followers who will not even bother about it. It is said, so I believe. Okay. This is apart from the material aspect, based or related to knowledge system, which is also dynamic. For example, suddenly you will realize that everybody is talking and using petrol and diesel. 40 years back, majority of you were not even touching petrol and diesel, maximum maybe kerosene. 100 years back, there was no kerosene also. People were using vegetable oil. Tomorrow they will use solar energy. So the resources that we depend on, which is also continuously changing, induces changes in knowledge system. Same is done with technology. For example, we are now having an online session using computers and internet, and I am sitting approximately 2000 kilometers away from many of you who are in Jharkhand. And we use the word internet, we use the word mobile, we use term called computers. All these terminology and concepts were not in the knowledge system 20 years back. So as resources and technology change, lot of issues and ideas, including terminology, vocabulary, does impact the knowledge system, every knowledge system for that matter. Practical examples and insights in what we mean by components of knowledge system. So you have in the medical knowledge system, broadly we have Ayurvedic and allopathic medical knowledge system. Okay. In the education, we have various examples of a Gurukula model, the madrasa, convent, public schooling, and state scheme, CBSE, ICSE, whatever you want to do. In financial and banking, for over 10,000 years, people were only doing barter system. Even now, we do bartering between our friends. You have commercial banking, you have post office banking, you have something called the Islamic banking, you also have the money lender. So these form the economic knowledge system. This economic knowledge system is part of every knowledge system, the way you deal, okay? Many or most of these are consolidated over centuries of use, influenced by cultural, socio-economic, political factors, and in recent times by resources and environment. So, new resources, for example, everybody is talking of lithium batteries. Lithium word people were not even using 10 years back, but suddenly lithium batteries. Just one moment. And tomorrow we don't know what other factors will. So this is what we mean by the dynamic component of a knowledge system, where our lifestyle, our livelihood, our food patterns, etc., slowly start adding, and many things also go away. For example, the roots and tubers, which were quite common 10-15 years back, are not part of our food cycle now. We rarely, in fact, many youngsters don't even know the word tuber. They don't even know a specific root, which was part of our vegetable diet before. Okay. So all this happens, which means knowledge systems is continuously in a state of churn. So you can also observe what is closed and what is open in this. For a long time, Ayurvedic system was not allowing standard pathological tests. For them, only observing the human body and checking the nadi. That was all. So getting a urine test, blood test was not heard of for a long time. But they have incorporated it, which means from this medical system, they have incorporated changes into their medical system or their knowledge system. Okay. So how do we actually understand a knowledge system? All knowledge systems exhibit expressions either explicitly, implicitly, or in a subtle manner whenever they use. So you give life to knowledge components when you interact, use, share, or even talk about it. Its characteristics can be seen in the way society handles its economy, education, law and governance, gender and other equalities, and many inequalities. Okay, for example, you look at the inequality in the urban and the rural area. Okay, so it's part of the knowledge system. Knowledge system is a fact. What does the law component of the knowledge system do? It will say there is so much of inequality between urban and rural area. Can we minimize the gap? For that, the economic and the other factors will start coming into play. So the various components of knowledge system which have to interact together to make life meaningful for everybody. One can also infer from many socio-cultural and attitudinal aspects of citizens, their behavior, conduct and ethos. For example, we have a festival called Vanamahotsav, right? I think it's one of the very unique practices all over the world, very unique, which is part of the Indian knowledge system. Okay. Other knowledge systems also have some of their unique properties. It's not that ours is only. So there are a lot of general components of knowledge system which also exist in other knowledge systems, there are some very specific unique behaviors and components. Unfortunately, many aspects of knowledge system is linked with religious beliefs in all cases, because the religious beliefs and religious tenets seem to have created a foundation for a society to live. Okay. So one of the earliest forms of organized society came about both laws of governance, laws of economy, and religious beliefs and practices, which also have been changing over time. Okay. And these beliefs, in all cases, are either strongly or moderately or subtle. Okay. You will see some very conservative society where these religious beliefs dominate the knowledge system. In our cases, it is quite moderate. But if you go into Northern Europe and other places, or even Russia for that matter, or even China, the religious beliefs, which are in many cases foundations for knowledge system, these are very subtle there. Okay. Which means we are still not fully free people. There's a beautiful song by Lennon called Imagine. So where he clearly says, imagine people without heaven or hell, people without religion. So no one has to fight for someone and die. And that's one way to get peace. Okay. So once you don't have this idea of hell and heaven and religion and caste and gender, hopefully everybody lives peace. It's a beautiful song, but which more than the song, it says that we have some necessary or unnecessary bondage with the knowledge systems which govern our behavior and our growth. The question is, which knowledge system is right? All knowledge systems have evolved over time, culture and geography. Geography has played a significant role in the way knowledge systems has been shaped, trade and interaction, and wars and conquest. These are various human and non-human actions and situations which have shaped knowledge system. Some less, some more, meaning some knowledge systems which have been influenced by all this, less influence, some very much influence. Some of the knowledge systems are lost over time. For example, some culture in southern Egypt bordering on Sudan today, we have no idea what they were, and we have some relics left behind, but we have no idea what knowledge system it was which was shaping. Similarly, various isolated communities like Machu Picchu in South America and other Mayans and Aztecs, we have very little residuals left of them. Okay. There have also been dramatic shifts from one knowledge system to another in the course of nation. Suddenly, for example, Japan, which was a very conservative society till about 15th, 16th century, suddenly opened up. So today, one of the reasons Japan is so industrialized is the fact that suddenly in 16th, 17th century, they decided that they are not going to be conservative, opened up to Western ideas of industrialization and monetary economy and so on. Similarly, Turkey just at the turn of the previous century went through phenomenal reforms. The famous name is Ataturk, who is still regarded very high there, even though today Turkey is becoming more and more conservative, though not completely. Similarly, North and South America. If you look at North and South America, till about 500 years back, it was all tribal and semi-tribal nomadic cultures, even though they were fairly big. Aztecs and Incas were fairly big, whereas the Red Indians in North America were a sparingly populated cultural race. And that has completely changed. Similar is China. China till 1950 was even more backward than India. Okay. It suddenly changed. So is Russia. Of course, exceedingly bad example is North Korea, which is now one of the most insular, closed, violent, and very suppressive regime. And the fact that the knowledge system they use supports all this. Okay. Many have adapted or reformed to add value to their knowledge system, lest it should be found redundant. For example, France. France in the last 10, 15 years, why France? Many Southern European nations in the last 10, 15 years have closed down many of their universities which were teaching in their native language. Today, France has almost 70% of its universities teaching in English, which even 20 years back, they were hating English. Okay. Same is in Germany, same is Russia, same is China. Okay. So the moment the certain element of not being useful or becoming redundant, a progressive and a responsive type of knowledge system will definitely adapt or reform. Many knowledge systems are outdated. They are rigidly deployed, mostly using undemocratic forces and many times violently. You see this in Taliban. Okay. Now they have banned even girls from studying beyond high school. Okay. And so on and so forth. It is tough since balance is needed and society changes much slower than many individuals. So the knowledge system which holds the society together changes much slowly than individuals. For example, somebody starts wearing new type of dress straight away. You see this now in college students. Many college students, both girls and boys, come in almost unisex clothes, jeans and t-shirt. Okay. Second, you also find students purposely wearing torn jeans. They are 5 times more expensive than fully correct jeans. And the whole society doesn't do that. Maybe in another 20 years, we don't know. Okay. Similarly, food habits. You now, at least our generation, we are still slow to adapt to the kind of fast food. Now you see youngsters, everybody wants pizza. Fortunately, pizzas are not yet being done so much in home, but pizzas have become the main food for college going students, youngsters everywhere. Similarly, sports. You see so much of interest and addiction to sports these days. Okay. So plenty of things happen in which makes so the society is very dynamic and it expects the knowledge system either to adapt and refine to provide for it or it will counter it. So the knowledge system is all the time like fruits and vegetables put inside the mixer and all the time in a state of flux. Okay. Now, what knowledge systems operate all over the world? Well, there are many shades of knowledge systems that abound the planet Earth, many of whom may not even be fully clear what exactly they are using. Okay. So, suppose I ask you, are you following Western knowledge system or Indian knowledge system or even more specific, limited South Indian knowledge system, whatever? Many of us are not, because even when we express, we are expressing it in English, which is not part of our knowledge system, even though it has been adapted into it now. Okay. So many of us are not very clear what components, and you will see that when we do religious festivals, particularly the ritual, the shraddha we do for dead people, very clear the food on those days is exactly the food that was served about uh, 500 to 1000 years back. No red chilies are used, no potato, no onion, because all these are new food items. Only pepper is used because that was the only thing that was giving spice to us. Okay. There was no red chilies, no green chilies. They came only about 400-500 years back. Okay. Yeah. So only very isolated societies have maintained their original knowledge system and have little or no interaction with other knowledge system. So which means when one knowledge system interacts with other knowledge system, there is a mutual give and take. Okay. Both will improve, both will adapt, both will start becoming less rigid. Maybe we don't know, 100 years from now, the whole world may have only one knowledge system. We don't know. So many of these isolated knowledge systems can be seen in Andamans and in Amazon. I'll come to that later. A great majority, however, use two to three different knowledge systems for different purposes. For example, we use Western education system, both in universities and IITs and all, but we use Indian food, dress and living styles, right? So the normal day-to-day living, our attributes and behavior and characteristics come from the Indian knowledge system, whereas what we learn or how we learn is a Western knowledge system, okay? So you have people sitting with churidar and sari and dhoti and kurta, but also learning modern biochemistry and molecular biology, all that, okay? And maybe in the lunch break, they'll go and eat dal, roti, and some rice, sambar, something like that, okay? Yeah. So what are the knowledge systems that are in contention? The most dominant knowledge system is the Western or the modern developed economy knowledge system, as we call. This so-called Western knowledge system is mainly the original Greco-Roman model. And as we can see, it is most prevalent either in full or more than 50% in almost all countries of the world today. Okay. The other knowledge systems are what developed in the Oriental, Arab, Middle East, India, China, Japanese, African, etc. We have to be cautious. While knowledge system appearing to be characterized by cultural religious aspect, it is not so. And in many cases, ideological, technological, economic factors have overruled. Okay. For example, in the very rigid communist system, maybe I don't know, it may even happen in isolated cases in Kerala and even now, where the marriage is decided by the party members saying you marry that girl and it is good for communism. Okay. You don't marry a girl because you love her or you want to, build a relationship. The party decides what is an ideal marriage, okay, which is mainly ideological driven. Today, mostly technological and economic factors, okay. So much of the human relationship today is technological and economic, okay. So which knowledge systems now exist? Predominantly four. There are ideally, in fact, there are infinite knowledge system. Every person can have their own knowledge system on this universe, which is about 8 billion now almost, okay. But broadly, four knowledge systems are concurrently existing. The Western knowledge system, we call it the WKS. It's predominantly in Europe, North America, and China. Covers about 40% of the world population. Its other name is modern scientific system. It also relates to about 75% of the world economy today. That's one reason why it is very dominant. Okay. There is this Arabic knowledge system, predominantly in Middle East, North Africa, Indian subcontinent, Central Asia, Indonesia, and Malaysia. It covers about 30% of the world population, but it controls 70% of the petroleum economy. The third knowledge system is the Indian knowledge system, about which we want to spend more time from now on. It's predominantly in Indian subcontinent, lot of it in Southeast Asia, Tibet, Japan. It covers about 25% of the world population. It also relates to about 25% of the current economy in the world. Then there is a fourth knowledge system, which we call it the indigenous knowledge system. Exists in all parts of the world, isolated, more so in India and Africa and in South America. It covers only 5% of the world population, but these are the predecessors to all the other knowledge system. The Indian knowledge system, the Arab knowledge system, and the Western knowledge system all have come from the indigenous knowledge system. And what we note, no society now lives exclusively on one knowledge system, except the indigenous knowledge system. Many live with a blended version of 2, 3, or 4. Most of us will live with the blended version of 2, the Western knowledge system and the Indian knowledge system. Many Muslims in India live with 3, Western knowledge system, Indian knowledge system, and the Arabic knowledge system. And some tribals have adapted to all 4. Okay, they have their own tribal rituals and tribal practices and tribal marriage, this thing, but they attend the college, they work in the government office, they live weekdays in Mysore, weekends in their tribal hamlet. All this is happening. Okay, There is very few people living in exclusive isolation in one knowledge system. We'll come to that. It is clear that currently we all lead a life based on blended knowledge system, dominated by Indian knowledge system and considerable and selective aspects of Western knowledge system. Minorities have their further component of Arabic knowledge system and other knowledge system. For example, the Jains and the Marwadis in India, they have the knowledge system in part of their Jain Dharma. Okay, that also they have incorporated. They may still wear t-shirt and jeans. They may talk in English, right? So they have a blending of at least three. Okay. Much of the formal education and economy and industry, however, is dominated by Western knowledge system. All our colleges and schools, all our banking and finance, and most of our industry. Okay. It is here we are questioning what Indian knowledge system is and attempting to put more Indian knowledge system into our existing lifestyle, as it is clear that we are now facing more negative issues with the overload of Western knowledge system and Arab knowledge system. That's happening. Okay. We are seeing more and more negative aspects. For example, the Western healthcare is very expensive today. You go to a hospital, the patient recovers, you die because you have to pay a fat bill, or the patient dies, or the patient operation is successful, but the patient has died. And it's so expensive over a long period of time. Okay. Similarly, education, higher education, Western education particularly is very expensive today. Most private universities, we cannot afford to put our children there. We don't know what they learn, but it's too expensive. So we are now exploring, and of course, we know synthetic clothes are very health-wise a hazard, both to the soil and earth and to ourselves. So we are all now, there is a big demand for cotton and other things which are compatible with the weather conditions. Okay. What is a dream? To live by significant component of Indian knowledge system only. The question is it possible? Is it meaningful? Is it productive? Those are the things we need to look at. What is Western knowledge system? That's something that evolved over 3,000 years. So it's not overnight. In the socio-cultural geography of the Greece, Rome, and Middle East, the Fertile Crescent as it's called, all factors, trade, commerce, wars, conquest, everything have played significant role in shaping this, and it continues to do. For example, there is so much of reforms going on in Saudi Arabia now, which was one of the world's most conservative and almost an isolated knowledge system. Okay. What is common with Western knowledge system? There is one book that is sacred, and it is monotheist, which does not include female and child gods. Okay? Its main character is belief in redemption and death, and the moral compass grounded in belief in only one God, which is male, and in one book. For example, whether the Jews, Christians, or Muslims, they are all called Abrahamic religions or Abrahamic culture. All of them have only one book. Okay. It has been institutionalized very early. When you say institutionalized, the authority, okay. For example, you have the Pope, you have the Rabbi, and so on and so forth. Rebelling or questioning of tenets is not permitted and results in either excommunication or death. So they are more closed than dynamic. The tenets in these are very harsh, cruel, and acquiring in nature. That is no heaven for non-followers. So you go to ask anybody in Christianity, say only a Christian has a chance to go to heaven. Okay. This Hammurabi's code of eye for an eye, which can only happen in a desert geography, or death to non-believers, which also happens in a desert geography where the knowledge system has been evolved over a desert climate where water is shortage, food is shortage, everything is shortage. Okay. What is Indian knowledge system? This is something evolved over 5,000 years And in the socio-cultural geography of the Bharat, that is Indian subcontinent, even here all factors have played significant role. However, there is no one book that is sacred. It is polytheist, including female and child god, and it's highly non-individuality. Okay. So that's one reason why Rama, Krishna, Govinda keep fighting each other. That is, their believers start fighting each other because there are too many parallel this thing. However, its main character is the belief in rebirth. This is unique. There is no rebirth in other knowledge system, whereas in our knowledge system, the concept of rebirth is central. It is central both to Jains and Buddhists. Okay, and the moral compass is grounded in an idea called dharma and karma. Dharma is your action. Karma is what you need to face, for which you act, or you act to face that, whatever. Okay. It has either not been institutionalized or has multiple institutions. That's why you have too many different philosophies, thus multiple parallel authority. Each can suit oneself or move to other or even disown. So it's extremely dynamic. So that way, the Abrahamic religions cannot question our tenets because we are more dynamic than them. We are more open than them. Okay. Rebelling or questioning of tenets is permitted and very frequent. That's why you have so many philosophies. Every 5-10 years, some philosophy comes up, something which adds to the knowledge system. I'm not saying they are good and bad. You already have cases like that Asram Bapu being sent to jail. He had some few lakh followers, and that some Ram Rahim, somebody in Punjab, he's in jail. Okay, and you have separate Sai Baba in Puttaparthi. All this, so it's exceedingly, vibrant socio-cultural philosophical milieu where new things emerge, some stay, some disappear, so on and so forth. Tenets in these are very gentle, bountiful, and giving in nature because all these were shaped in a subcontinent which had numerous rivers, forests, mountains, unbelievable. It's only now we are facing drought and famine. Otherwise, with the kind of population, low population that we had for a long time, it was bountiful. Of course, some regions would get parched and dry. People would move on. Nobody actually owned anything. Everything was available. Okay. Some dramatic conflict in and with the knowledge system. You look at the case of Galileo Galilei. He was born in 1564 in Pisa and died in 1642 in Head-CEDT in Italy. In 1632, there was a big debate in the Vatican. It was a dialogue concerning two chief world systems, basically knowledge component, between Pope Urban VIII, when Galileo proposed heliocentric view, meaning Sun is the center of the solar system, Earth revolves around it. Whereas the Pope opposed because the Bible says Earth is the center and Sun revolves around it. He was termed anti-Christian view of the creation. He was under house arrest from time he mentioned this till he died. In fact, he was put under house arrest because the Bible, which is the Western knowledge system of that time then, the Pope told Galileo, you will be beheaded if you insist that Sun is the center. In fact, Galileo withdrew the proof. But because he withdrew the proof, he was put under house arrest till he died. Of course, little later, everybody got to know that Sun is the center and Earth not. Same thing happened. There was another seminar by Pope then in November 22nd, 2001 on what happened in Big Bang and so on and so forth. Okay, because all this new scientific knowledge always questions old components of, for example, people went and landed on the moon. Apollo 11 sent rockets and astronauts to moon. They landed. Immediately, many people said, no, this is not the moon god. The moon god is somewhere near the sun. This is not a moon god. So till then, the moon, what we are seeing was moon god for us. Okay. So all this happens. So what we need to be cautious is knowledge system can be very rich and contain very redundant, outdated, and many biased tenets. So we have to be very cautious. Second, conflicts and contradictions in every knowledge system is common. So much so that many have even questioned the foundation, saying there is no God. So why can't the world exist without the God? Why should there be a God for the world to exist? So you have a large number of atheists, and slowly the scientific knowledge is making. For example, in Europe and in America, 90% of the population don't go to church. Even if they go, it is once in a month on a Sunday morning. It's like going to a mall or a hotel for dinner. It has reduced to that, unlike what we see here. Here, every day, morning and evening, people go to temples, people go to church, and so on. Okay. Similarly, the quality of a knowledge system lies in its ability to be open to reforms and changes, whether they are the gender issues, the scientific facts, dress and food. All these make dramatic pressure on altering the components of a knowledge system. Whether we accept it, whether we incorporate it, is left to us. How flexible, how objective, how qualitative the knowledge system is. Okay. You see here, this is a Middle Europe. The graves of Catholic wife and a Protestant husband who were not allowed to be buried together. Even within the knowledge system, there are sub-segments which has this problem. We have it. We have plenty of such problems with caste and other issues even in our society now, okay, in the Indian knowledge system. So it's a dramatic photograph of the Catholic graveyard here and the Protestant graveyard there, even though they were husband and wife. Okay. So what are the main reasons for the decline of the Indian knowledge system? While Indian knowledge system was suppressed by the Arabic knowledge system, since the lack, it was suppressed. It was not completely destroyed, it was suppressed, even though there might have been attempt to destroy it. It was suppressed since the lack total control over the geography. India is a very big country with large population from the period 10th century till 18th century. It was still vibrant in many local geographies that held on to Indian knowledge system. Now you see that, okay? Examples abound in much of South India. Is this the reason why South India is better than the rest of the country in terms of socio-economic, industrial and cultural base? Is this the reason? Because we did not have almost 8 centuries of Arabic knowledge system being imposed, okay? We were in that sense a little lucky. But is that the reason why things are better here? I don't know. And you will also see, whereas all marriages, most marriages in South India are in the daytime, whereas majority of the marriages in North India are late evening to late night. Maybe 100 years back when there was no electricity, that was probably the only way to conduct a marriage without being disturbed by other knowledge system. Yeah, it's quite common. It is possible. Okay. The real damage to Indian knowledge system came from the following. The British colonial rule from 1825 onwards. Just look at this. This is the famous Macaulay. Okay. This is his address to the British Parliament. Okay. British Parliament asked him what he is doing and etc. all that. So see, I have traveled across the length and breadth of India and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. And therefore, I propose that we replace our old and ancient education system, her culture. For if the Indians think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation. This is Lord Macaulay's address to British Parliament on 2nd February 1835. Goes on. So he says we can't change the mind of all Indians, but we can change the mind of few Indians who are going to assist us in governing the rest. This is exactly the Babu culture which was created. Okay. And he also says, I have no knowledge of either Sanskrit or Arabic. And I say, I have never found one among them who could deny that a single shelf of good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia. What an arrogant statement. Neither Sanskrit or Arabic poetry matched that of Europe. In other branches of learning, their disparity was even greater. How can he say Kalidasa was any less poet than in fact, Kalidasa is perhaps the world's greatest poet. Okay. So this is how it was. You see how they ruled us. Royal Simla Club. No dogs or Indians. We were treated exactly like dogs. Okay. This is the main reason the decline of Indian knowledge system happened. So what does a knowledge system really do? Interaction, reinforcement, consolidation, and purpose among its attributes. For example, when you look at a knowledge system, there are certain things which build the identity of the knowledge system. There are cultural aspects. There are economic value for this and received wisdom, which is also in a churn. It updates, deletes some unnecessary or redundant things or even bad things. For example, the reforms and by Arya Samaj and all started introducing widow remarriage, all these things. So there is always plenty of scope for improving the quality of every knowledge system, not everywhere. Okay? Even in America, they changed so much. See, till I think 1954 or 1956. Please remember, till 1954 or 56, I think women were not, no, till 1924 or 26, women were not allowed to vote in America. Till 1954 to 56, African Americans who were citizens of America were not allowed to vote. So that way, America is far more backward than us. We had women franchisee more than 100 years back. Okay. So these are the things that it does. Specific to Indian knowledge system, this is it. When you say Indian knowledge system, it is dominated by oral and written traditions. Oral traditions dominate written traditions, and like all over the world, writing is a new phenomena compared to speaking. Then there are core and related dharmas, means rules of conduct, characteristics of good behavior, whatever it is, and tremendous amount of diversity and forms of culture, which you don't find in any part of the world. Even if you go to America, you get bored so quickly, because if you see one city in America, it is as good as seeing all the cities in America. If you see one house in America, it is like seeing all the houses in America, no diversity. Whereas here in India, you go walk in a street, you will have 20 different houses, 20 different looking, different design houses. And as you watch people, there will be 20 different dress patterns. And when you go and watch food item, there will be 40 different items from which people pick. And if you are in a cosmopolitan city, you will at least get, even Bangalore, you board a bus and just travel for about half an hour in the bus. You will hear at least 8 or 9 languages. Okay. So this is the significant aspect of diversity of culture, behavior, dress, food. Unbelievable. No place in the world. In fact, you want to see so much of diversity of culture, food, language, you have to travel the entire Europe. What you find in India, you will have to travel the entire continent like Europe. But if you travel the whole continent of North and South America, you will get maximum 3 languages and maybe 3 cultures. That's all. Similarly, there are a lot of utilitarian and welfare aspects in knowledge systems. Otherwise, if it is not useful to population, why will they support? Why do they want to adhere if it is not useful to them? You are seeing this now in Iran. Iran, there is a big problem where women don't want to wear the hijab or scarf. It is a men imposed rule. And there is so much of, they say, give us freedom. We don't want, those who want to use it will use it. Don't make it a rule. Same things happening many places all over the world, even in India. Okay. So what are unique characteristics of Indian knowledge system? Indian knowledge system is the only knowledge system that does not depend on a single book and a single authority. All other knowledge system depend on one single book and one single source of authority. Whether it's, for example, you already have the division between Shias and Sunnis, right? It's such a monolithic structure, broken and further broken later. That's a different issue. So, specific to the Indian knowledge system, the main sources are the 4 Vedas, the Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Puranas, other material also. And it's highly reform centric. For example, a large portion of North Karnataka and Southern Maharashtra, their knowledge system on which they do adhere to their daily life comes from Basavanna's Vachanas. In fact, even more extreme, for those of you who are familiar, the D.V. Gundappa's Mankutimana Kagga is used as a prayer in the famous temple in Chikmagalur, Hiremagalur. Kannan has made it famous. So he says, Mankutimana Kagga is as good as any Bhagavad Gita for praying to God. Even more, the famous Kuvempu's Mantra Mangalya, which is simplified form of wedding. So many people are adhering to now. So many are going and getting marriage done and other things in Arya Samaj. So plenty of reforms. This amount of reforms you don't find in any other knowledge system. Further, it is polytheist, very liberal and diverse with even female gods. The last time there was a female god was in the Greek civilization. Little in the old Egyptian, but fairly prevalent in the Greek philosophy and knowledge system, which no longer exists. We have female gods, Parvati, Saraswati, Lakshmi, all that. Animal gods also. We even have fusion gods. Human, animal. Human, Ardhanareshwari. Half woman, half man. Then human animal, Narsimha, right? And in the extreme, lot of atheists, starting from almost 3,000 years back, there was a group which would be termed Charvakas. They have been an existential philosophy which Sartre did in the 19th century in France. And they have been like that for a long time. They don't believe in any god or any ruler or any king, but they conduct themselves well and they live independently. So the range of people being accommodated is unbelievable. This is the only knowledge system which allows this. The very strange thing, sometime in 17th century, in Spain, the king of Spain told everybody who is living in Spain is a Catholic Christian, and all the Muslims who are living there either have to convert to Christianity or leave Spain and go to other countries like North Africa. It happened just in 17th century. So, general issues with most knowledge systems are the following. While reforms have happened in knowledge system, the issues are at what pace and in what direction. Changes are happening, but how fast and in which direction? And are biases cultural only? Are the biases in the knowledge system cultural aspect? Or biases are gender specific? This is quite a lot. For example, now there is so much, even in India, the laws have been changed to accommodate LGBTQ, all that. Whereas in all the Arabic knowledge system, LGBTQ is not permitted. They are killing them. If they say they are one of the LGBTQ, they have to be either male or female. Okay? Are liberal reforms permitted? Which knowledge systems allow liberal reforms? And how much of it is shaped by economy and hegemony? How much of it is an economic factor? We now see people converting from one faith to another by inducement. It's happening. It has been happening for a very long time. Okay. Or hegemony, meaning we are a dominant group, and because we are a dominant group numerically and economically, what we say holds good, which you see now in Syria and Iraq, Iran, all these places. Above all, are the practices from these knowledge systems sustainable? This is the most important question. We are changing because of pressure and need. How much do we change? If we keep on changing, will we reach a point where we cannot change anymore and it is destructive, or is it sustainable? We'll come to that. The other answer is homogenization a solution? That is, all the world, everybody in the world follows one knowledge system. That's one extreme. Okay. The question is, by biology and by evolution, diversity is most important. It is because of diversity that we are what we are today. After all, we came from apes. Apes came from other mammals. Other mammals came from birds and fishes. They came from plants. From plants, even before that, they came from amoeba. Okay, like that. Okay. So, given this, we have to preserve diversity and yet allow growth of an individual, growth of a community, expressions for growth, alternate options open. Suppose they say everybody should study CBSE class. Everybody should send them to CBSE. I send my son to a state Kannada medium school. I don't believe in English medium, not right now, even though it's an important language. But my choices or our choices that he studies in vernacular, because preserving local language is very important. You can always learn a global language, but preserving local language is very important. Preserving local cultures are important. Adapting to global culture is one thing. So look at this. If you really ask the sustainable question, very few answers. The real sustainable living you find in Brazil in the rainforest, where a community which lives on the indigenous knowledge system, these are 100 people. The population of this village is 100. See how they are living? These are the houses. It's all open. And see how well they are living. There are no roads, there are no plastic bottles, there are no aeroplane coming and go, train, no school, college, hospital. They live. The moment the population becomes more than 100, they move out. 2 or 3 kilometers away, they start building another thing like this. Very stable. Please remember, our society, whatever the knowledge system is, started becoming unstable when civilization started. River valley civilizations. Mesopotamia, Indus Valley, the Egyptian civilization, and the Chinese civilization. These are the first 4 river valley civilization where urbanization started. When people started settling down permanently, they started owning house, then they started owning farmland, they started owning cattle, they started owning so many things. So this is really what led to unsustainable life. You will also see that in India. You see here, even here in India, the indigenous knowledge system saved a lot of lives. This is the North Sentinel Island in Andamans, where none of us are allowed to go. These are tribals who are living there. for over 60,000 years. They are closely genetically related to the Australian Aborigines. They are also related to the Negroid race in Africa. Okay. And you see a strange, this is a tribal in North Andaman Island shooting an arrow at an aeroplane. This is immediately after we had that famous tsunami in eastern coast where lot of damage happened to Cuddalore and Pondicherry, that belt of the coast. Lot of people died, lot of damage happened, but nothing happened in the Andaman Island, which was even closer to the source of the tsunami, which was in Indonesia. These people have learned over the years that whenever the sea recedes in tsunami, the first thing that happens is after tsunami, the sea water recedes, then it builds up into height and comes and hits. So whenever the sea water recedes, these people have learned over 50,000 years to run to the trees and live there, save themselves. This is after the tsunami when you can see the whole water splashed, the salt and all that, this thing, which was like this has become like this, but this man is alive. So in November 2018, John Allen Chow, an American missionary, was killed by members of the Sentinelist tribe while trying to convert them to Christianity. His illegal attempt at contact could have wiped out the entire tribe through introducing new disease such as flu, which these people have no immunity. This is exactly what happened in South America. When Christopher Columbus and group went to South America, without fighting war, millions of South Americans died because till they went, the Europeans took with them cholera, typhoid, all kinds of germs, which South American native population had never exposed to. So even as the Spanish conquerors started moving in interior into South America, even before they arrived, few days before that, people in villages started dying because the virus, flu and other virus had spread. Okay. So in fact, this fellow could have easily wiped them out because they have no immunity to these things. Okay. But they are sustainable. If you leave them alone, they will either disappear or live for the next 200,000 years without worrying about our GDP, without worrying about our internet and IPL and all that. Okay. So if you have to talk something about any knowledge system, we need to see what really that knowledge system has contributed. Every knowledge system has contributed something positive. But since we are focusing on Indian knowledge system, we'll look at that. Significant high value contributions to humanity worldwide from Indian knowledge. First is counting. The origin and use of zero, eventually leading to the decimal system, which has allowed the whole world to count uniformly and correctly, even large numbers and small numbers. Okay. Ayurveda, the time-tested healthcare getting more popular now due to side effects and cost of the Western allopathic. So more and more people are switching over to Ayurveda. Not that Ayurveda has cure for everything, but it has little or no side effects. And unfortunately, it is quite expensive now. But nevertheless, this is 2,000 or 3,000 year old practice, whereas the Western allopathic system is just about 150 years old. Yoga, the most effective and useful preventive healthcare system in the world. Prevention is better than cure. Okay. Cotton, silk, and woolen clothing, sustainability practices, and synergy between farming, livestock, skill, and economy. This link allowed natural fabrics to be part of our culture, and it's there. Even in 2,500 years back, there was fight in the Roman Senate that each senator was accusing the other senator of getting expensive cotton clothes from India for their wives and families at the cost of Roman economy. This is a debate well documented in Roman history. Okay. And languages, music, and culinary practices. Really, I have traveled half the world, but I have not come across more languages, more variety and depth of music, and unbelievable amount of variety of food. This is really what I call heaven on earth. Multicultural living and synthesizing, good from any knowledge system. Two standout sayings. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. What it really means is lead me from darkness to light, meaning I am ignorant, please educate me. So we are a learning society. There is very few societies which learn voluntarily, and the only society which learns voluntarily is the Indian knowledge system. The other is let noble thoughts come to us from all sides. This is not here. These two are from Vedic types. They are not modern creations. Synthesize the good in all for the good of all. This is the actual interpretation of what one calls Sanatana Dharma. Even though you find in public now and in media 100 bad interpretations of this, the correct interpretation is this. Synthesize the good in all for the good of all. Take the good in everyone, incorporate it into your knowledge system, and let everybody grow well. Okay. So we will stop here and have some discussion. The conclusion is the Indian knowledge system is important, and many useful aspects have neither been given its due nor evaluated effectively in the context of our life. Indian knowledge system has to contend and compete with other knowledge systems, many of which are coercive and are seductive, like fast food, internet, mobile, jeans, t-shirt. Very quickly people get into it. Modern maths, technology, finance, and life sciences, biopharmaceuticals now rule the roost all over the world. Almost 99% of the world population use this now. The question is how, where, when, and how much of Indian knowledge system to be positioned in the gamut of our life. Okay. So now I will stop here. We can have few minutes of discussion. Yeah. Any questions, comments? Please unmute and you can ask.
Sir,
Sir,
types of knowledge is there, sir. Western knowledge systems, Arabic and Indian knowledge system, and Indigo system, sir. Please give percentage, sir. Western knowledge, sir, how percentage?
See, giving specific percentage is difficult because if you look at education 90% is Western knowledge system. Whereas if you take food, it's only 30%. If you look at lifestyle, it's about 50%. So different components have different. So you can't put one percentage for exclusively. 75% of the economy is controlled by Western knowledge system. So different components have different shares. So there is no one share for everything. That's why the blended knowledge system is what is working everywhere.
Okay.
ಸರ್ ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾರತೀಯ ಪರಂಪರೆಯ ಅರಿಶಿಣವನ್ನ ರದ್ದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಇದ್ರ ಪೇಟೆಂಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದ ಜ್ಞಾನ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಚಿರಪರಿಚಿತ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಅದು ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಯಾಕೆ ಹಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ನಮ್ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಶಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ.
See, taking the intellectual property, converting it into commercial practice to make money is part of the Western knowledge system. They don't have a knowledge system of sharing. That's why Indian knowledge system, the practices we did not patent all these days. Why should we worry? Every house uses haldi for food every day.
Okay, sir.
So now we are learning. We have now in every college they are talking of patenting because we have tried to copy their knowledge system practices.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir. Thank you.
Sir, which knowledge then we promote?
Where we, in which context are you talking?
Means in India, according to the Indian knowledge,
According to
are we
India,
going to promote?
at least most of the houses still run majority in Indian knowledge system. But when they come out of the house for college or for job, they do some other knowledge system. And when they are with their friends and chat, they do something else. So now the question is two things. We need to understand Indian knowledge system better and see what aspects of Indian knowledge system can we enhance in our life. That's all the question is. Because we don't understand it well, we don't know what is to be incorporated, what is to be, for example, the school that my son goes, compulsory handloom, cotton handloom, no uniform, but every child should wear cotton pajama and cotton shirt, hand woven, not machine woven. So what Gandhi was promoting. So these are the tenets. Slowly you start incorporating. That is all we are discussing today.
ಸರ್
Ah.
ಸೊ ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ಬರೀ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮನೇ ನಾವು ಟೀಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಇದು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಸರಿ ಸರ್ ಇದು?
ಅದು ಟೀಕೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಒಂದು, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗದೆ ಇರೋದು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು. See, the media is very immature and very incompetent. So they all want visibility. Everybody wants to be on the TV. Everybody wants. So you can talk garbage and come on TV very easily. You can't talk sense and come on TV. So if you want to come on TV, talk garbage. So this is really what is happening. People who have understood it well know what they are doing. So at least in the education system, we need to understand better. I'm not saying we will understand it perfectly, but we need to understand better. Is it that there is not enough good in us? There are so many good things in us. Have we incorporated them is the question we are asking.
ಸರ್ ಅದೇ ಸರ್, ಈಗ ನಾವು ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ, ಈಗ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮ ಅಂದಾಗ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಧರ್ಮದನ್ನ ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಫೀಲ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಈಗ?
ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಕ್ಲಾರಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್. ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಕ್ಲಾರಿಟಿ. ದಿಕ್ ಸರಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ದಿಕ್ ಸರಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಸ್ವೇಡ್ ಬೈ ಇಮೋಷನ್, ದೇ ಆರ್ ಸ್ವೇಡ್ ಬೈ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ, ಅದರ್ಸ್ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್, ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸೇಯಿಂಗ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್. People have to discuss within themselves. ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರನ್ನ ಯಾರನ್ನು ಕೇಳಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಸರಿ ಯಾವ್ದು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಇವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಅದನ್ನ ಒಳಗೆ ಇನ್ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಆತರ ನಾವು ಆ ಎನ್ವೈರನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಆ ಲೆವೆಲ್.
ಹೌದು ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯ. ಆ ಎನ್ವೈರನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಟ್ಟಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತಾ, ಕಟ್ಟಬಹುದಾ, ಕಟ್ಟಬಾರ್ದಾ, ಒಳ್ಳೇದಾಗುತ್ತಾ, ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಒಳ್ಳೇದಾಗುತ್ತಾ ಕಟ್ಟೋದು, ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಯೋಚನೆ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಯೋಚನೆಗಳು ಈಗಲ್ಲ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ದಿನ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೊರಟೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಅ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ನೌ. ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಎಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ.